with Charlie Davies.
The touch from Carlos Heel is world class.
And Brad Feldman.
With the run up the stutter step, makes it 2-1 New England. Carlos Heel with his first goal of the year, and the Revs are back in front.
This is Outside the Booth.
All right. We are back on a Monday. Chuck and Brad with you, and the Revs are in sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference after a 2-1 victory over Atlanta United at home. Charlie, how are you?
I'm feeling good. It's a Monday. We're excited. The Revs are playing the best I can ever remember them playing.
Wow.
It was...
Even when you were out there.
Even
when you were a kid and it was, Shawry and Ralston and Twellman and Dempsey, the best they've ever played.
I don't want to compare different eras, but I will say, as of late, that over the past 5 years, this is the best I've seen.
Yeah, no, I won't. Certainly Saturday night. Hey, we want your calls this afternoon. 855-728-7500. We've got a lot to talk about. The Atlanta game, the upcoming Nashville game. It's a busy stretch for the Revs with Nashville, Philadelphia, and then Columbus in rapid succession next week. So they're gonna be on short rest. But Charlie, 2-1. Do you think that actually flattered the visitors, that final scoreline?
It did, and the possession stat line flattered Atlanta United, because the Revolution were very, I think, smart and direct in their possession with their play, whereas Atlanta, they wanted to slow the game down, and typically they slowed the game down in their half or in the middle third. But this was Revolution from the jump. They were the better team throughout.
Yeah, we also want your questions on @RevTV on Twitter. Can't guarantee if you go through other means like Instagram or Facebook that we'll see them. So use Twitter if at all possible, or give us a call. One stat that we do have to talk about is Maciel in his MLS debut, Charlie. 33 for 33 in passing. Sometimes, they're all possession passes, but then you look and, he had that tremendous through ball for Teal Bunbury that sprung him for a chance. If you look at his passing matrix, he was looking forward as much as he was looking sideways and backwards. He was connecting with Taijon Buchanan. Carlos Heel was, I think, the two players he passed to the most out of those 33 passes, 7 to DeJuan Jones and 7 to Carlos Heel. So that tells you that he wasn't just sort of slowing the game and the tempo down. He was looking forward. That was a really eye-opening debut from the Brazilian.
It was, and he makes it look so effortless. He glides around the pitch. He's always in the right spots. He pops up when, he finds the gaps. He pops up, he receives the ball, and he plays it quickly. So when you're talking about moving the ball from left to right or from, north to south, that's the type of player that he is. And he also was able to get involved on tackles and win possession. So I really didn't know too much about Maciel coming into this season. Preseason, I know he impressed. He not only impressed the coaches, he impressed the players. All the players were talking about, wow, he was the one player that grew the most from day one till the first game of the year. So I was really excited to see what he was going to bring to the table, because it's one thing to play in preseason. It's another to play in Major League Soccer regular season. And he brought it.
Yep.
And that was against Atlanta United.
He didn't look at all overwhelmed by the situation. It was impressive. David writes into us, Charlie, great start to the season. However, he is concerned that the Revs are an own goal and a questionable penalty away from him being a mid-table team. I'm going to go the other way with it. I think if you think about the chances against DC that Buchan and Heel just missed in Polster, and you look at the chances that Buchanan and Kessler had in the first half against United when the Revs are a little bit sharper, I think they could end up winning the DC game 2-3-0, in the Atlanta game 3-1. For me, I think they're just inches away from looking much more dominant on the scoreboard. But maybe I'm seeing it through blue-tinted glasses there.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that about every team, that they're, one penalty away from being an average team. New England Revolution, the way they play and the style, the way they're set up in this 4-2-3-1, that's when they're at their best, because it forces Carlos Gil to be at the 10. And that was the massive difference, because he's more involved in the game when he's in the center of the pitch.
Okay, okay, I agree with you 100%. He was slicing and dicing, wheeling and dealing. It was as good a performance as we've ever seen from Carlos Gil.
Yes.
But you take Gustavo Bo out of the equation with that, and so when he's fit again, what's that?
Only one spot. There's only one spot for Gustavo Bo, which is the same position he had when he came into the league. He set the league on fire, ablaze, absolutely just turned heads, because he was playing on the left where Traustason is playing, which is going to be the competition, which I think is always healthy when you have two really quality players in one position battling it out, where they can come inside. And those two players both like to come inside. They're not the players to go by line and try and use pace. They're more get on the ball, combine 1-2s, and look to shoot from distance. That's where Gustavo Bo is going to be, I think, best situated, because for him to come inside and combine with Carlos or Adam Buchan, he can drift into those spots and those areas in between the lines from that position.
Nobody's arguing with you that that's his best spot. But the question is, right, you spent some money to bring in Traustason. Taijon Buchanan is on an upward arc, and a player that everybody wants to see on the field. And so something's got to give. In some ways, it makes a decision for the coach if somebody's injured, right? But at the same time, it's a good problem to have. Frank DeLappa talked about it in the Globe. The idea that Teal Bunbury, your leading scorer from 2 out of the last 4 seasons, comes off the bench for the last 10 minutes or whatever, maybe it was 20 minutes, like that. That's I won't say an embarrassment of riches, but it's a level of depth that the Revolution haven't had, certainly since you were playing in the heyday of 2014-15, and maybe not even since the Stevie Nicol era, the height of those days. And even then, you felt
they never had depth then.
Not like that. Yeah, that's right. They had at a couple 11. Of positions. They had some depth. Like when you were able to bring a James Riley off the bench or an Andy Dorman off the bench, those are good players. But it's not like now when we're talking about when Luis Caicedo, when he's fit, Charlie, how does he get on the field? Wilfred Kaptoum didn't start the other day, and both Polster and Maciel had excellent games. Kaptoum's going to get minutes. You still have McNamara and Caldwell, good veteran heads in there. And so that's the kind of depth that the Revolution have maybe never seen in their 26-season history until now.
They haven't. DeJuan Jones at left back also took a huge stride forward, because the first match of the season, it was difficult. There's no question about it. I think he struggled playing balls forward, keeping possession, even making the simple pass. What we saw against Atlanta United, he was getting involved in attack, much more confident, much more on the front foot. I don't think there was that hesitation or the concern of, am I going to make the wrong pass or the bad touch? He looked good, and he was getting up and down. The depth is there. That's not a question.
Okay, so a question. There is a question for Francisco, who asks, who was the best player against Atlanta United? Was it Carlos Gil or Buchanan? And what do we think? You already said what you think about the performance of Brandon Bye, but Carlos Gil for me was a 10 out of 10 on the night. And like you see the service there on the set piece we're looking at, where Kessler was just a goal post away from scoring his first goal of the year. His ability to create, but these touches we're seeing late in the game too, Charlie. It's so magnificent. The control that he showed off of that pop up from Teal Bunbury, and then he skins the poor kid Sosa alive, leaves him for dead on the floor. That's gone kind of semi-viral.
Posterized.
Yeah, he poor guy. And then I don't know if you saw the screen cap, but he dribbled away from it with a smile, like he was grinning. It was kind of funny. But he did the same thing the previous week against DC when Kessler sent it high and wide. He takes it down out of the air as if the pass is coming from 5 feet away.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I don't want to take away from the performances of Brandon Bye, who was fantastic. As right back, 5 tackles, 2 interceptions, 9 possessions gained, getting up and down, that gets on the score sheet as well. we talked about his improvement in the final third, the delivery, the service, making sure you're putting it in an area that is dangerous, because you don't have to just look at Adam Buchan and say, I got to get it to his head, but you got to put it in a place where he can get to it. And it also where the first defender is not going to clear it out every time, or the keeper is not just going to scoop it up. Playing it in between, that soft spot from the 6 and the penalty spot, or right on the line of the 6, where the keeper is like, do I come out? You want that confusion. And I think he has really grown in the attacking phase of the game. We always knew what he had defensively, but in the attack, especially in this modern day game, the right backs are so important. The outside backs add that added value with creating width, but also those dangerous balls when you get numbers in the attack. So I love what Brendan Bye was able to do. I think we already talked about Maciel, but Matt Polster is playing too well that you couldn't even think about putting in a Caicedo if he was fully fit, or a Captoum. That's how good he's been.
Do you think that Matt Polster, like in the offseason, they say, Matt, we love you, and we love the edge you play with, but you're sort of overextending yourself. You're getting into collisions that are unnecessary. We want you to be hard but not reckless. And, we've seen you in training. You can complete, smart passes over 10, 15 yards, just play within yourself? Or do you think he figured it out? Coming back from Scotland, it's not going to be a rock fight every week. Because it looks like they've coached him up to be his best self.
Yeah, I think it's the adjustment, right? You're coming back, you hadn't played in a long time, and you're already just used to that Scottish style of play at Rangers. You're just trying to come in and make a difference. And you didn't have time to assimilate with the squad and learn how.
Yeah, but he wasn't that player at Chicago. Even when he was playing as a right back, he was always, to me, like a little bit touch and tackle. Not that he lacked any skill, but he always looked like he wanted to put his stamp on the game, and emphasis on stamp, and he's not that guy right now.
I think at the end he changed it a little bit.
I didn't see enough
the end of his
yet.
Chicago Fire career. Yeah. But I think this year with a full preseason, he figured out, okay, this is my role. I need to just play simple, get it off my feet, and get it to Carlos Heel, or get it to Taijon Buchanan, who is another player who you can't stop. You have to foul him because he's going to run right by you. I just love that Bruce Arena is empowering these players by playing in a certain style, a certain formation, and putting the players in a position to succeed.
Hey, speaking of Bruce Arena, let's get his thoughts on the game from after the match on Saturday night.
It was a real good performance. I think for 90 minutes we played well against a very good team. They're going to be a team that's going to contend for the MLS Cup this year, and they demanded that we play with quality tonight. And you see the difference with this opponent this week as compared to last week, and a different kind of challenge. And Atlanta is a very good team, and it required that we raise our level of play. And I think our guys responded very well.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. And I think that, Atlanta fans might moan that they didn't start Barco or Robinson or Martinez, but not much changed when those guys came on. It was definitely a kick in the shins for them to lose Barco for the last 10 minutes. But, the Revs didn't really alter their game plan when those guys came on, other than keeping an eye on Martinez drifting in behind.
Well, at that stage, you just have to lock it down. And had they played in Ezequiel Barco, things could have been different, because he is that kind of player who can create, can take people on the dribble. It gives you a better chance at getting a result. When you don't have him on the pitch, and then you don't have Joseph Martinez, who needs that match fitness, but also the recovery, because you're trying to push yourself to try and find your form.
So you're disagreeing with me. You're saying you're saying that's a weekend Atlanta team they beat.
It is.
Okay.
That's 1,000% a weakened Atlanta team. Not even a question. You have your best striker, one of the league's best, on the bench, who's still not 100% fit, and Ezequiel Barco is your best attacking player.
No doubt. If they'd had Barco, it would have been a different game.
Yeah.
But do they give up something?
And Miles Robinson is their best defender. So, I mean, those are three big pieces that you didn't have for the majority of the match. Now, it's not saying, hey, the Revs, they got lucky because they didn't play the best Atlanta side. Well, you still have to take care of business. And they still had those players in the squad. The presence was still felt, and they still made an appearance into the game. but the Revs were the better team clearly from start to finish.
You didn't think it should have been, or that you agreed with the initial decision on the penalty call to place it outside the box for the free kick. But after video review, and we're looking at it right now, the foul by Hyndman was adjudged to have been just inside the penalty area, and Chris Penso reviewed it. It's very hard for me to tell. I didn't see enough to overturn the call on the field, although my initial instinct was different from yours in that I thought there was a good chance that the foul took place over the line, in which case it should have been a penalty. For Penso and Serene Stoica to make the decision to reverse that surprised me. But I thought I don't think Atlanta would have had that much complaint if the initial call had been for a penalty.
Well, I'll tell you right now, at first glance, when we were in the booth, I thought Chris Penso got it right. It's spot on, and it's really difficult because it's just I think outside the box. But when I got a chance to see the camera angle that we didn't have access to, it was a clear penalty.
Okay,
it was so clear that the VAR official Stoica had to say, Penso, the knee to thigh contact that brought Taijon Buchanan actually down. It wasn't the foot contact that we first saw that, okay, that's the initiation, which I think was outside the box. But the actual foul that Penso was calling, which was the quad to knee on Taijon Buchanan, was clearly inside the box.
That's good clarification. What angle was that? I'm curious.
I'm not sure what it was. Directly across the box, which we didn't have in the booth. So it was an angle that I had never seen, and I saw it. So it's a clear.
The high 18 look is what you're saying.
Yes, it was spot on. I give so much credit to the crew to get that right.
All right. So we understand some people are having some buffering issues on the show. We apologize for that, but we will endeavor to get them fixed. Don't abandon us, because we have questions of yours to get to and lots more to talk about. In the meantime, DC says the middle of the field has been outstanding so far. Polster is playing outstanding. Kaptoum and Martial have both made playing the D-mid so easy with the simple passes, defensive cover, although I would say that Kaptoum was in more as sort of a two-way midfielder against DC. Has allowed the backs to get up the field into the attack. Your thoughts? Well, I would agree that the last two home games that's been the case. Against Chicago in the first 20 minutes, it was not the case, but they sorted it out.
Yeah, I would agree. Martial is not a clear 6. I'd say he's like a sitting 8 in a way, but I was almost in shock at how well he handled the situation.
Hey, I told you the kid was good. I told you.
Yeah, but to see it with your own eyes,
and to see it in an MLS game, it's different.
Right.
Like as good as USL is, it's a big step up, the tempo and the overall skill level.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about already, DC. Just the depth that they have, the idea that like if everybody's suspended and injured, you could bring in Luis Caicedo and play him next to Scott Caldwell. That's still a decent midfield. But now they have a level of skill and athleticism in there that they didn't have before. And the idea that you have to make a decision right now with Polster playing so well between Martial and Kaptoum, who is expected to be a locked-in starter at the beginning of the year, that tells you how. And then obviously, like if you have possession of the ball and these guys are winning it, like we said with Martial, he zips it into the feet of Carlos Heel in good spots. Indeed, that allows Jones and Bai or whomever is Mafla to get to overlap sometimes, right? And then you're playing higher up the field, and the opposing team's pinned back, and that's how you win games, right? That's it.
That's exactly how you win games. You overwhelm teams, whether it's the mismatch with Taijon Buchanan and Brandon Bai, and that relationship growing, being in that 2v1, whether it's Mulroney outside, or you had Anton Walks trying to defend, you had Hyndman trying to get out there. They're just too much. That tandem is going to be lethal throughout the season. I think the relationship with Polster and Maciel, who's going, who's staying, how do we cover the space in the midfield? When they added their outside backs coming in to help Heinemann, Sosa, and Ibarra, they did it masterfully, being able to handle, all right, who's going to step, who's going to cover, shielding the back four. Kessler-Farrell, that relationship, that looks spot on. They push up at the same time, one steps, one drops. I think they're, being able to distribute out of the back as well has been fantastic. There's just so many partnerships, and I think the last couple are Carlos Gil and Buxa being on the same page. The hold-up play, because Carlos has got to be underneath when the ball comes up to Adam, and I think Adam's worked tremendously hard on his hold-up play because that looks a lot better than it did last year. So, man, this is an exciting team. I'm telling you, this is the best it's looked in a long time, and they're just scratching the surface.
That's what I think.
Like you said, Gustavo Bo isn't healthy. When he's 100% healthy and fit, Tristison, he's not 100% fit and in form. So, and we talked about, Teal Bunbury. He can play at the 9. He can play wide right, wide left. You just have a lot of options, and throughout the year when you have to rotate players to give 90 minutes off for a Carlos Gil at some points, or Adam Buxa, or Taijon, or Tristison, or Bo, you have the players to come in and do the job. Yeah,
it's a good set of problems to have, but they do have some tough games coming up. Charlie, do you think that this upcoming stretch of 3 games in 8 days we're gonna really get to see some of that depth tested squad rotation where you'll see the likes of a Teal Bunbury getting a start, or platooning Mafla and DeJuan Jones? Is that going to be how Bruce Arena handles it?
Yes, I would think, as much as you want to keep the squad together and ride the hot hand, especially when you're, getting result after result, this Nashville test is going to be difficult because we know how good they are defending. But now they're starting to play a little bit more expansive in the way they attack, and they're getting Randall Leal engaged, and he's one of the better creators in Major League Soccer. Plus, he's an awesome kid. I got to interview him this past week. But this Nashville team, it's like they're waiting for that moment to say, okay, we can do it in the attacking half. We can play the 1-2s and play creative football. I think they're on the verge of that, but it starts with Dax McCarty and Godoy in the midfield. The Revs have to shut them down. That's the engine. That's the heartbeat of Nashville. And if you do that, you're really limiting Nashville in ways they can beat you.
Yeah, they played I don't know. I didn't watch the whole game yet, but it looked like a somewhat stale 0-0 draw with Inter Miami. But they did also have an impressive win over Montreal the previous week, and I think that the Revs will want to focus on that game in their scouting as much as on the Miami match.
Yeah, I mean, it was a snooze fest, Nashville, Inter Miami, because Miami just defended. It was disappointing, to be honest. And then for Nashville, they went down 2-0 to Montreal and came back to tie it 2-2. That was the final score. So you like that they showed the resilience to go down 2-0 and still come back and get a result. And because they're playing a little bit more aggressive in their attack, they've had some holes. We saw them neutralize those holes, those deficiencies against Inter Miami, but Inter Miami were missing the Higuain brothers, who really are going to be that much more important, because you see their depth. They don't have much depth. They don't have much going forward. So without Higuain, that team is a shell of itself.
Let's talk Nashville, because they're not playing. Last year, the Revs it was that crazy game with a long weather delay, and Zimmerman scored on the corner kick when the Revs were really having trouble defending corners last year. But then Buxa had a good goal, and they're still playing at Nissan Stadium, which is an NFL facility, and it just sort of feels like it suits Nashville's style of play, which is to destroy, to use Zimmerman, McCarty to chop things up. But when you talk about Mukhtar and Cadiz, and especially Leal, they do have weapons. So it's not as if they can't get something going the other way. But it does sort of feel like a home game, when a team comes in to bunker on the road sometimes.
Well, for Nashville, you have a team that's playing very confident. They understand their identity. They're still trying to figure out the best way to attack because Cadiz up top, he's very limited. He's very limited. Doesn't have good feet. Can't beat you on the dribble. Gives the ball away a good amount. Just the passing accuracy is not there, especially against Inter Miami. Do they have a capable 9 who can stretch teams, finish, hold the ball up, and like be dangerous all the time? Cadiz is one of those box strikers who he's a huge target, good in the air, makes hard runs in the box, but everything outside the box, he's struggled so far. So I think for the Revs, another game where they can impose their will and keep possession and, pin a team like Nashville, who are really good at home, back in their own defensive third.
All right, we're going to step out and take a quick break, but we want your calls on the other side of that. 855-728-7500. We like the Twitter questions. Keep them coming. Lots more to talk about as we continue after this.
Dan O'Brien here to let you know the Dan O'Brien Auto Group is a proud sponsor of Gillette Stadium and all the awesome events that take place here. Speaking of awesome, when you buy your new or pre-owned vehicle from the Dan O'Brien Automotive Group, you get our exclusive Awesome Protection Plan. That's 1 year of maintenance, 1 year of paintless dent repair, free safety inspections for you and your entire household for as long as you own the car, and our exclusive awesome lifetime warranty. Come get yours today. Dan O'Brien Auto Group, keeping it awesome. Log on now to DanO'BrienAutoGroup.com.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Today is the day to take power forward in a sustainable way, because today, Gillette Stadium is powered by renewable energy, just like the Revolution. With Enel as their official energy partner, you can power your business, vehicles, and cities with clean energy. Together, let's create a greater power, a power that generates new opportunities from sustainable solutions to deliver benefits for your business and your community. Take your power forward. Discover Enel at Enel.com.
It's time to start planning your getaway to Foxwoods. Reserve some much-deserved luxury in one of our 4-diamond hotels. Catch up on the thrills with your favorite slots and table games. Swing into action at Lake of Isles or hit the stores at Tanger Outlets at Foxwoods. Indulge yourself with world-class dining and treat yourself to drinks and a show. It's all here for you. Go to foxwoods.com to book your stay today. Foxwoods Resort Casino, the wonder of it all.
This is Outside the Booth with Charlie Davies and Brad Feldman.
Played very well. I'm not sure if he brought it up a notch. That's how Carlos plays. He's a very good player. He's, in my opinion, one of the elite players in the league.
He was best 11 in 2019. If you think about the fact that he had Achilles surgery, now it wasn't a full Achilles tear. It was more of a bone spur, but still, the fact that we're just, 8-9 months on from that, and that he's out there wheeling the way he was these last couple of games, especially this past Saturday night. Charlie, this is a guy, and you've said it, could be playing in any league in the world.
Yes.
I think it's important to say, too, without getting into sort of relative salaries and strengths of leagues, yes, he could go play for a Cadiz or, Almeria, he could be starting probably for at least half of the La Liga teams tomorrow, at least half of those teams. But he's got a better situation here. He's the man. It's a high-profile league now. It's on internationally. He's in a world-class city, in a big NFL facility, and playing against other good teams. And I think he feels valued. And I think that he's already played in the Premier League. He didn't really stick there for a variety of reasons, but he showed he can play at that level. It's pretty rough over there, but he could do it. Played in La Liga. And I think unless he's going to be like a featured guy for, Atletico Madrid or Sevilla or something like that, which maybe he's not quite there because they have a lot of good attacking midfielders in La Liga, but you go down to anybody below that top 6, top 8 level, I think he could be there. He'll make more money in MLS. He gets more attention in many ways in MLS, and I think he likes it here. I think he likes the way Bruce Arena has made him feel. I think he likes his teammates. I think he likes the vibe. And I think I think it was also a smart sign. Let's give Brad Friedel some credit. Like he brought the guy in, and conditions changed, but maybe they changed for the better in Carlos's opinion. And now he's got a home here, and he's rocking it. Like Carlos Gil is rocking it.
Carlos Gil is the real deal. And the thing is, we can think, Revolution fans, we see him all the time, we can think, man, he sets the bar high with his technique and his movement, his vision. But it's unanimous across the league how everyone feels about Carlos Gil. Every time I come into a conversation about Major League Soccer players, it always comes back to Carlos Gil. What a player. He could play on any MLS team. He would be in the starting 11. He's fantastic. He's tough to deal with because you can't get close to him. And he's not at this level, but it reminds me of the time when we played against Spain in the Confederations Cup in 2009. And I was tasked with trying to disrupt Xavi. We're talking Xavi, one of the greatest players of all time. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get close to him. And he wouldn't even be able to tie my shoes if it came to a race with pace or even strength.
Just steps ahead.
But
mentally,
he was just so smart. He always knew if I was going to come one way, I'd try and trick him and bend my run around to the back shoulder, and he'd turn the other way. And when I think he's going to play 2-touch, he plays 1-touch. And when I think he's going to play 1-touch and I run to the player that's open, he takes 2. He was just that smart in his movement. That's what I think of when I see Carlos Gil. You can never get your hands on him because he never allows you to get that close.
Yeah, and he uses his shoulders, he uses his hips, he uses his eyes. And, he shapes to go one way, and sometimes he goes that way. Sometimes he takes a touch. Sometimes he dummies it for himself. He has so many tricks in his bag, and the only thing is you worry about him getting kicked lumps out of because teams are targeting him. He only got fouled. 4 times against Atlanta the other night. And but it felt like he had more room to roam after the way he was roughed up against Chicago and D.C. the previous weeks. We understand that our technical crew has fixed the caching issues, so we do indeed thank you for that. I want to shift gears here. I also want to encourage people to call, not just tweet at us, 855-728-7500. But there is a really good thing that happened with the game, and I think it speaks to the broader culture at the Revolution right now. We can make a big deal out of the team being in first place after just 3 games, and it's noteworthy, but it's still, third week of the season. But there is something going on here right now. There is a vibe around the team. And, one of the things that we've talked about is the way they've, really built up the ranks through the academy to Revs 2 and what's going on there with players coming up into the first team. But the hiring of Shalry Joseph, club legend, all-time best 11 player, part of those Stevie Nickel teams, then went on to coach with Bolts and then the Grenada national team as their head coach, and really good spell. And now in the fold,
got them into the Gold Cup.
He did really, really well with Grenada. And it's sort of crazy that they didn't keep him on for life. But that's, their losses, the Revs gained. So he's a U15 coach, but Bruce Arena and company are having him into first team sessions too. But what he's doing with the U15s, they had a comeback game 2 weeks ago, and when the kid scored the goal, the whole team ran over to hug and celebrate with Shalry. That tells you something. But then take a look. If you haven't seen this already, this is going around on the internet. They're watching the penalty kick for Carlos Gil on the bus back from New York. Take a listen. Can we watch that one more time from the beginning? That's so awesome. Like, you'd think they just won an MLS Cup. One more time. Yeah, these guys were yelling, "Vamos Capi, Vamos Carlos." It was great, and like the youthful enthusiasm is obviously just a great thing on its own, but the fact that they care that much about the first team, and you can see like Carlos Gil is a hero to these guys, and the result in the third week of the season matters that much to these kids. They feel like they're a part of something big. And, credit to Charlie. I saw him on the way into the stadium just now, and he's radiating just like this, hugely positive vibe. And he's tough on these kids. Don't get me wrong. Like, we know that Charlie is a ruthless competitor, but he also has heart. And I've seen it he used to coach futsal in Brookline when my daughter used to play there when he had his own club. And the way he relates to young kids is really, really good. And so bully to the Revs for bringing him back in the fold. And big kudos to Charlie for making what he's doing part of the pyramid, part of the culture, because that's the way it works around the world. And when I say that's the way it works, I mean that's the way it works when it's working well. And so I was really jazzed. If something really good happens this season for the Revs, think back to that video. Think back to that moment when they're coming back from Staten Island watching Carlos Gil make that penalty and that reaction, because to me that speaks to something bigger. Here it is again. It's tremendous.
It's for me, when I see that video, it gives these players a dream.
Yeah.
It's one thing to play for the Revolution, but to see them support, the players they want to become and to the level they want to be playing in and playing at, that's awesome. And there's no better person than Charlie Joseph to be there to lift these guys up and give them the insight and give them the support to let them know it is possible, but you have to do this, this, and this. And the work ethic has to remain the same throughout the whole process, which is just fantastic. And Charlie is as good as they come. I mean, he's a legend. For me, he's the best player that's ever played for the Revolution. And, Carlos Gil, if he stays here for another 5 years, could be taking that throne. But as far as consistency and someone who really was an imposing figure, and he knew the game so well, a student of the game and great teammate, it's Charlie Joseph.
Yeah, and that's, again, like that's what successful clubs do, is they bring in the people who were part of the past success on the field and make them part of the club structure. That's why, one of the reasons why it's smart to have Charlie Davies as your analyst. And but like you guys are in very different ways part of the history of the team, and you're also people that, one of my big issues with Charlie professionally is that he's so popular that when he gets to the stadium, even when he gets here a half an hour early, where's Charlie? Oh, he's still in the tunnel, and there's like a line of people that you have to greet because you're and Charlie in his own way. Charlie definitely at times had a surly presence back when he was younger, when he first got here. Like, always a nice guy at heart, but when he was playing, like, I think some people didn't know what to make, because he, but there were always two sides to him. There was the tough Brooklyn kid from Crown Heights, and then there was the well brought up guy from Grenada whose mother raised him right. And, I think now that he's in a much more mature phase of his life, he has, you can see that he has control over when he does things. And maybe that was, I think he on the field he did too most of the time. He had a couple of red cards, over his career, but he always had culture to his game, even though he was as brutal to play against as any D mid in the history of the league, right? Like, we all talk about the footprint that's probably still in Jaime Moreno's stomach from that game in 2004. And then, sometimes, the arms and elbows are up a little too high. But he hurt to play against, and that's a good holding midfielder, right? But he could also pass the ball over 20 yards as well as any guy who played the position.
Yeah, I mean, you never wanted to go into a 50-50 challenge or duel with Charlie, because you knew even if you won, you were leaving with a lump.
Yep.
And you wanted that. He wanted you to know that, because the next time you come in, there might be some hesitation, and there you've lost the duel already. Once you start to doubt, man, do I really want to go in for this challenge? Or I might come away with some bumps or some scratches. I don't want none of that. And then, that was kind of what Charlie always brought to the table. He was a true competitor, and I loved seeing him and Clint Dempsey on the field together. Those were some of the days. Those were some of the.
I got to play in a pickup game once with Charlie Joseph, and I think the thing that impressed me was, like, obviously when he's playing for money, and he had a job to do for the Stevie Nickel teams, it was one thing, but in a pretty good pickup game, and I'm not saying that I was pretty good, but a lot of the other players were. Charlie made me look really good, because it was just like if you ran off the ball, kind of like Carlos Heel at that level, like he could just pick up his head and scan, and he had the ability to just curl in these passes so that, like, even I looked like I had a good first touch. And that always stuck with me. It's like, if Charlie can make me look that good, he must be really good, And so forget all the physical stuff. Like, that guy was a footballer, and he lives for the game. We know that. He also reminds me, because of his New York roots, I don't think he moved to Brooklyn until he was 14, 15 years old. But I lived in New York City for 6 years. I played a lot of basketball. And the mentality he brought to the soccer field was very similar to, like, what you find on the playgrounds in basketball in Brooklyn. And it probably has to do with the fact that he played a lot of pickup soccer in public parks, as well as club and college soccer in New York. But whatever the inputs were, the output has been great. And to have him be part of the club fold, and I know that Kurt Analfo and Bruce Arena are quietly very proud of what he's doing. It's early days, but I think the fact that he's showing up for first team training says a lot as well, Charlie.
Yeah, he's just you know what you're going to get, and it's brilliance, and you want that out every single time he touches the field. And when I watch him play, there's not too many players that I look at Carlos Heel, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy is good.
Right.
What it would have been like for me to play with an attacking midfielder that was always head on a swivel, pass first. I've played with some of the most talented players, but I think a lot of the midfielders I play with were, you create the space, allow me to fill it, and I'm going to take my chances, and that's great, because you're still getting players who can.
Charlie, are you saying they were looking you off, man? You were open and they were shooting? Yeah. I think that's what I hear you saying.
I had some players, look me off and say, "Great run, great," you're like, "Oh, yeah, nice goal." But no, he's special. He's a special player.
Yeah. So the Revs are certainly good value, and to watch. Like, they're easy on the eye, and I think that TV ratings are still up. We have fans back in the building here for the home games, but now they have this tricky stretch where it's Nashville and Philadelphia. And getting back to Nashville, Charlie, my question is, we talked about, their handful of attacking weapons like Leal and Mukhtar, but Dax really is a two-way guy, but his main job still is to chop it up in there, right? Is to destroy. Like, is that fair? Is that fair to say? Because for me, the hardest thing is going to be to break this team down. Like, let's look at their lineup from the ugly game yesterday. It's Godoy and McCarty as the two sitting midfielders, and Mukhtar is the 10, and then you have Romney and Zimmerman, an uncompromising central defensive pair behind them. Yeah. So how Nashville plays is their outside backs are the ones who get the most touches. So Lovitz and Alistair Johnston, those are the two players who get forward the most. They use them as width pieces, and they kind of jam the middle with Leal and Wheel and Mukhtar and Cadiz. And it's just it's kind of a predictable way of playing, but they're very effective with that predictable way of playing. And Dax and Godoy,
they're responsible for playing between the lines, trying to find the feet of Leal or into space, or Muil or Mukhtar, who likes to kind of find those pockets. Let's say it's in between Brendan Bai and Andrew Farrell, or the pocket between Polster and Maciel. Finding those little pockets, turning and trying to create something out of nothing. So with this team, again, it's going to be do not foul around the box. Do not give them set pieces. They're very dangerous on corners with Romney and Zimmerman, or any type of set piece.
We saw that firsthand last year.
Box. So fouls, don't foul them. And 2, let them have Johnston and Lovitz on the ball. They're not going to hurt you.
Right.
It's McCarty, Godoy, Leal, and Mukhtar who are going to hurt you. It's those 4. Don't allow them time and space. Everyone else, you're in position. They're not going to break you down.
And Joe Willis is better than people think he is.
Yes, he is. I got a chance to play with him. Great attitude. He can make, kind of like Matt Turner in the beginning, shot stopper. One of the better shot stoppers. Matt Turner just has a little bit more quickness to him. I think his positioning is a little bit better. But Joe Willis is, he's steady Eddie. He's consistent, and he has the ability to make the big time save.
At risk of making a controversial statement, do you think that part of what Nashville is able to do right now is they're in a market where Gary Smith, isn't charged with, making them into, Nashalona? It's a results business, especially in your couple of expansion seasons. It's like the fact they made the playoffs. It was an expanded playoff a group last year, but still, that was considered a successful first year. They were able to hold arguably more talented teams like the Revs to draws and amass the points they needed, and that they sort of are still living in that grace period right now. They like we just saw some good attacking play. Leal, Mukhtar, to a lesser extent, Muil and McCarty, they can create, but they're not going to light anybody on fire with their style of play, Charlie. Hey, before we get your answer to that, Jay from Gardner is on now. On the line. Jay, how are you this Monday afternoon?
Great. You?
Couldn't be better. What's going on?
All right. I have a general MLS question.
Okay, we'll refer to the general. Charlie, be on standby.
Why will they not tell us when games actually start?
I could tell you when games actually start, Jay.
Yeah, but yesterday, the LA game started 25 minutes after the announced time.
Here, I'm going to give away trade secrets, and it's not really anything that I think I can't tell you, because if you watch the pattern, it's pretty consistent. The regional games, with some exceptions, will always kick off 8 minutes past the hour or half hour. And that's kind of you see similar time frames for NBA basketball and stuff. So if it's a 7:30 start, they tip it maybe 7:42. MLS games will be 7:38. Fox always has a longer pregame. I think their pregame is 20-something minutes, and so then the kickoff is a couple minutes after that. ESPN has a shorter pregame usually, unless it's a playoff game, and there are some exceptions to that. There are exceptions also when the Canadian national TV is involved. Sometimes you have kickoffs that are a quarter past the hour, but I don't think anybody's trying to fake you out, Jay. I can see how it's frustrating if you say, "Oh, I only have this much free time, and I thought it was going to start at 9:00 and it starts at 9:25." That's a fair shout. I think it's 22 past the hour, so maybe they were a little bit late. Sometimes the refs don't do their equipment checks, or the anthem runs long. Everybody endeavors to get the kickoffs started on time, but there is a system to it, and nobody's trying to fake out the viewers. It's just standard in this country. In England, when they say it's a noon kick, it's a noon kick. In the U.S., if they say a noon kick, depending on the TV network, it's 8 after, 12 after, 22 after. It's just showbiz, and I think I can see why you. But when they say it's a 7:30 start, they mean a 7:30 start to the broadcast, not the game. It's not my decision. That's just how it works.
Why can't they say, okay, coverage starts at 7, game starts at 7:15?
Because they want you to watch. Tune in for the TV commercials, man. That's business.
Yeah, but let me make my choice.
Yeah, but that's why they don't let you fast forward through the commercials anymore either. It's just they're trying to hold an audience and make money off of it. And especially with no commercials during the games, soccer audiences, that's one of the things that advertisers and networks don't love about our sport is that it's hard enough to not have in-game commercial breaks. So I can see how you feel a little bit messed with, but I'm just telling you, they're trying to sell soap. That's business.
It's a business.
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
I wish I had a better answer for you.
I absolutely get that. It's just, if it was a compelling, pregame, I would tune in.
Jay, we have a terrific 8-minute pregame show for you every week. Actually, it's only probably 5.5 minutes of content, and the rest is commercials. But we'd love it if you tune in from the top of the hour so you can see Charlie and me insult each other. He's gone. Well, listen, I can see from a fan's perspective what Jay's saying. Like, fair enough, but it's also like it's not specific to MLS. Like, you watch a Bruins or Red Sox or a Celtics regional telecast, when it's a 1 o'clock game, the game doesn't start at 1 o'clock. It just doesn't. That's never been the way in this country. So MLS has followed suit, and especially, again, with no in-game commercials, there's no chance that's going to change, in my view.
No, it's not going to. And I thought you handled that question rather well.
For once, yeah, thank you.
You on your A game for that one. I'll tell you that. You handled that one. You knocked that out of the park.
You know what? You actually, Charlie gets a little window into my really sort of boring other life, and these are the kinds of things that take up most of my day. So I think I was ready for that one. The soccer part's the tip of the iceberg. It's that's the fun part for me. So listen, we really want to, I think, bring people a game presentation that it focused more on the Revs. Obviously, it's for the New England market, but one that entertains and informs and engages. And obviously, the game from whistle to final whistle is the main thing. Like, that's what is the game on Saturdays. That's what we're all about. But the pregame gives it some context. You can see the lineup. You can hear. We always have a soundbite from a player from Bruce Arena. We have Charlie's analysis, and I think it's a good way to tune up. Now, I can see why if it's late on a Sunday night, it's a West Coast game. You're like, I got work in the morning. And the game doesn't start till 25 after. You're like, wait a minute, I could add a sandwich, or I'm not going to be able to stay up till the end of the game. I'm mad at Kellen Rowe, by the way. I sent him a Jimi Hendrix. He posed in the Hendrix kit. I sent him a really good, rare Hendrix track, and he didn't seem to dig it. He should have listened to it. But you see how close he came to scoring 3 times last night? I wanted it to go in for him.
He looked good.
He looked good. He was up and down, and you could see he was dying to go into the penalty area, but he held his ground. He got the message for what his role was. He stepped once or twice into the attack, and I don't know. I thought Kellen was really good. And hey, props to Diego Fagundes. 2 goals now, including the first one in Austin club history. Good to see the former Revs guys out there doing well.
Agreed. Absolutely. They've. I think for Austin, they got a great signing in Diego Fagundes, who still has a lot of room to improve, and he's motivated. So I think that works for him. And for Kellen Rowe, we always knew he was going to be happy going home to Seattle. He always talked about his love for the Northwest. He gets his move, and it's a really difficult team to break into. We talk about the players that they have at their disposal. Yet he's worked hard. He's got himself fit. Broke through in training, got his opportunity. I thought he did very well with it.
I got another broadcast question from Carter. We do know why ESPN is blacked out for Revs games. It's a league and ESPN requirement in the markets where it's available over the air and on most cable systems. It's not a Revs decision. The Revs are only involved insofar as they let the league know what their market territory is. I recognize that on the edges of those areas, there are some discrepancies and some people who feel like we heard from one viewer who is blacked out at home but not on their mobile device. And these are things that are really tough to unwind. If you get in touch with Revs customer service, if you have these issues, they're going to want to know not just your zip code, but your email address, your internet provider or cable provider, and some other questions too. And then the league and ESPN can try to unwind that. I think it has to do sometimes where your IP address is registered, not necessarily your home address. First I've ever heard of that, which makes it very difficult and confusing. And so I feel really badly for those handful of viewers who are getting sort of caught betwixt and between. We had it with the old carrier too, is just in different areas. Down like just north of New London, Connecticut, there used to be some zip codes where, people are like, well, I don't have NBC Sports Boston, but I don't have Yes Network, and I can't get on ESPN Plus, so what do I do? So this is always a problem in those sort of, outlying, areas sort of further away from Boston. It's just right now we're trying to unwind it with the new TV deal, and just know that it's not something that the Revs, are actively trying to impose. It's just, it's an ESPN. It's part of their deal with MLS, and I know some people don't like this feedback, but if you're having trouble in Boston or Providence getting the game, get a decent TV antenna. I expect that you'll get better reception if you mount it outside, but they're relatively inexpensive. Everybody has different budgets, so I don't want to tell you what's expensive, but under $100, even under $50, you get a decent antenna. And if you're anywhere near Boston or Providence, you should be able to pull a strong HD signal. Billy asks, what do you see for Taijon Buchanan, Charlie, in the next few years? Will he stay or will he go? He's been impressive on so many levels and wants to hear our thoughts.
Yeah, I don't like to prophesize, but his ability and his, I think, tenacity that he brings to the pitch every match day should see him go to Europe. He's a player who has all the intangibles, who has this quality that you can't teach, and plays with this chip on his shoulder. And I think once he gets, from I think this standpoint, he's still kind of like, I got to go, and he's always on 100, and he makes it extremely difficult for defenders. I think once he starts to find that rhythm of, okay, slow it down a little bit, and then speed up, slow it down a little bit, speed up, the change of pace, but changing the rhythm and the tempo of the game, I think is going to allow him to kind of just blow the sky out of the limit. But he is a player that I think is so special. Yeah, we saw he changes the game. You want him on the pitch, whether he's having a great game or he's having an okay game. He's capable of creating that one moment, and that's all you need in a match. Sometimes is that one moment. He could do it, and now to do it consistently, that's how you got to push Taijon. Keep pushing him. Don't ever let him settle. And I think we're going to see him in Europe, and also a hefty price tag to go with it.
What do you think of this? Hank, I know Hank. Random thought, can we get a Jones-to-Jones clip where Mac Jones, the quarterback out of Alabama, just drafted in the first round by the Patriots, throws a bomb to the Revolution's DeJuan Jones on a post pattern? Well, DeJuan certainly has NFL wide receiver speed.
Yes.
Mac Jones, man, he's got to make the team first. He's got to make the team first. No, I'm kidding.
He's going to make the team.
Of course, he's first-round draft choice. Yeah. I like the pick. What do I know about college football? But I think he ticks a lot of boxes that we're familiar with in these parts. I do like the picture of him after winning the championship with the cigar with his shirt off. Like, people are saying he's the most Boston athlete ever. I was like, no, somewhere around like 1990, Boston athletes started doing their sit-ups, actually. But they'll get him in shape right quick. Tom Brady had a different body after a year than he did when he was drafted out of Michigan. So, yeah, I like that when the time comes. We've done stuff with – did you do any, video stuff with Patriots when you were on the team, Charlie?
Yeah, the video game challenge, which was fun. And we were always, hanging out with them off the field. And I think we have a great relationship with the Pats. I think that started probably, during my time with the Revs. Yeah, the one that I remember that was really good, and I'd love it if we could dig it out. Who was now? I'm going blank here. The Super Bowl 38 MVP. Help me out here. Wide receiver. I'm trying to look it up, and it's not even as easy as you would. Was it Deion Branch?
It was Deion Branch, who was like a star soccer player.
Huh?
That's very good.
I'm good.
Deion Branch went out with Deuce, with Dempsey and Matt Reese, and was like trying to juggle the ball, and then he was doing some skill stuff, and he's like, well, to be honest with you, in high school, he's like, I just stayed up front, and they kicked it in behind, and I ran onto it, one touch, goal. He's like, it either went on the goal and in, or it went wide of the goal or high. He's like, and he scored like 30 goals in a season in high school soccer just because he was so powerful and strong. But I know
Matthew Slater can ball too.
Yeah, so, I know some guys – no, listen, there are definitely guys who have the foot skills to go with it. But if we could dig out that clip with Deuce and Deion Branch and Matt Reese, that was some classic stuff. All right, enough talk. That's it for today. But we will be back, I think, on Monday. It's a busy week because we go Saturday, Wednesday, and then is it Sunday? Is March 16th a Sunday? I haven't even looked that far forward. That's an ESPN game when the Revs play Columbus at home. But coming up, 1:30 kickoff.
Sunday at 6.
1:30 kickoff on Saturday. So, set your alarms, get your stuff done early, and tune in for that afternoon game on TV 38 and on my RI TV. Chuck, it's been fun, buddy.
Always.
All right. Talk to you on Saturday, and we'll talk to you next time on Outside the Booth.
Later.
This has been Outside the Booth.
Put it to bed, New England. What about